I'm here on the job site with Dale, who's a framing contractor.
Hey, good morning.
Dale traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance for all his business vehicles. We're here where he needs us most.
Yep, they sure are.
We make it easy for him to save on all his insurance needs, all in one place, with coverage that fits his business and bottom line. Oh, I shouldn't have looked down.
It's all right.
We're so far up here.
Look at me. Take a deep breath.
No, I'm good. So good.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
Welcome to Caregiver SOS On Air, presented by the WellMed Charitable Foundation, with nationally known gerontologist Carol Zernail and award-winning veteran broadcaster Ron Aaron. This program provides health, wellness, and other information for caregivers who are vital to the health and well-being of so many people across our country. And now, here are your hosts, Ron Aaron and Carol Zernail.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the award-winning Caregiver SOS On Air. I'm Ron Aaron, along with our co-host, Carol Zernail. Carol holds a master's degree in social gerontology, 30-plus years experience in the field. She's co-chair of the Raise Family Caregiving Advisory Council and serves as executive director of the WellMed Charitable Foundation. And Carol, the topic we are taking up for this segment is so important.
Well, it is. It's so important. And, getting everything in order, getting those legal documents all lined out is important for anyone. But for caregivers, it's usually the first concern and probably one of the last things that they actually take the time to do. So we're going to hopefully motivate everyone that's listening to get their documents done.
Let me take a moment and introduce our guest, Brennen Boze. After 10 years working as a litigator, Brennen Boze turned his efforts toward assisting the elderly, disabled, and their families with securing necessary care, preserving their legacies, and ensuring peace of mind for the future. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin, graduated with honors, and received a JD from Baylor Law School, where he was awarded a public interest summer fellowship. He regularly talks about estate planning, probate, and long-term care. Brennen Boze, thanks for joining us on Caregiver SOS On Air.
Ron, happy to be here. Thank you.
So talk to us a little bit first, the big picture. What is it that caregivers should know about preserving their family from a financial standpoint, a legal standpoint, and protecting their care recipient?
I think the biggest thing is to make sure that the care recipient has certain legal documents in place, by which I generally mean powers of attorney. I think the place to start with understanding how important powers of attorney are is understanding a process called guardianship, because that's usually where you end up if you don't have powers of attorney in place. Guardianship is a court proceeding. It is a lengthy and onerous court proceeding where a court steps in and says they have to take certain rights away from someone because they have lost the capacity to make decisions for themselves. Guardianship isn't just a one-time thing. You have to renew it every year. It requires lawyers, doctors, a team of people to get you through guardianship. And the thing with it is that it can really, in most cases, easily be avoided. And you can avoid that by doing simple documents called powers of attorney.
And what are those?
A power of attorney is just a document that appoints someone to speak on your behalf or to do business on your behalf. So in Texas, we have two primary kinds, one for financial matters. And I think a financial power of attorney in Texas, it's called a statutory durable power of attorney, is the single most important document any adult can have.
Why is that?
I think that's so important because if you are unable to make financial decisions on your own, through illness or otherwise, you lose the ability to handle your own finances. Nobody's going to be able to do that for you absent a document appointing them power of attorney or that guardianship process I just described.
So sometimes people are afraid of that financial power of attorney because right now they're healthy, they have, capacity, and they think the minute they sign that, they have signed over all their finances. Is that the way it works?
That's not. A power of attorney actually doesn't take any rights away from you. You're able to still manage your own finances, handle your own finances. You're not giving up control of anything. Contrast that to guardianship, where you are going to lose control of these decisions. A lot of people like to make their financial power of attorney only effective if they become incapacitated. And that's a choice you can make in the document, so that no one can use it unless or until you're unable to make decisions yourself.
And who makes that determination?
That would have to be a physician. And frankly, that's why in most cases, I encourage people to make their financial power of attorney effective immediately. Because in an emergency situation, getting a note from the right doctor is not always the easiest thing to do. And that power of attorney is not going to be activated until a doctor signs off on it. If you make it effective immediately, I understand that there is a lot of people have concerns about that, but the key should be appointing somebody that you have full faith and trust in that's going to manage this the way you would manage it and not exploit it.
Now hold that thought. We're going to come right back to you. I want to let folks know who may have just joined us. You're listening to the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air. We're on the radio in several cities in Texas and Florida, and our podcast available wherever you listen to your podcast. Carol Zernail, our co-host, is here. I'm Ron Aaron. We're talking with Brennen Boze. Brennen is with Bertsch Boze Elder Law, and we're talking about ways in which a care recipient and the caregiver can protect themselves legally and financially as well. And Brennen, when you talk about picking someone who can manage your finances, we see so often stories in the news about somebody literally ripping off the person they're supposed to care for. How do you protect yourself?
Unfortunately, I mean, there is that risk, and it does happen. People abuse powers of attorney. People abuse guardianships. I think the distinction is that, at least with a power of attorney, you're choosing the person. You're getting the choice to say in advance, if I'm unable to do this, this person can do business in my stead. Whereas if you don't do a power of attorney and you end up in guardianship, somebody's still going to make those decisions and still have those powers, but it's now out of your hands.
But now you can revoke a power of attorney. So let's say I picked someone and then I start thinking, ooh, I didn't pick the right person. Can I change my financial power of attorney or revoke that right?
Always. As long as you are able to make decisions, you have the right to revoke these documents. And the simplest way to revoke it is just to do a new one, naming someone else, someone who you do have that faith and trust in. If you do something like that, you change your power of attorney, explicitly revoke a prior power of attorney, it's a good idea to give a copy of that new power of attorney or that revocation to your banks and financial institutions so that they know the person on the old power of attorney can't still handle your business.
That's a great suggestion.
And as you pick that person to manage your finances, there also is something called a medical power of attorney. Is that the same person?
No, it can be two different people. A lot of families, they have one child that's more financially minded and another that, maybe a doctor or a nurse. And so they pick, different people to serve those different roles. It does not have to be the same person. With the medical power of attorney, I think it's important to note that one only becomes effective when you can no longer speak for yourself. So it does not, again, take anything away from you. No one can override your medical decisions for as long as you're competent to make them.
And who makes the decision that you're not competent?
That would be the doctor that's treating you for whatever medical treatment is necessary at the time that the power of attorney is invoked.
So the healthcare power of attorney or the medical power of attorney, the court cases that we've heard, kind of the stories that we've heard, those are from usually younger people. It's not older persons most of the time, the cases that we hear. So this healthcare power of attorney is really important for anyone who wants to communicate, make sure someone understands their healthcare wishes. If they get hit by a car in a car accident, trip and bonk their head and can't speak for themselves because they're in a coma, you want somebody you trust to make those decisions.
I think that's exactly right. And again, if you don't make that decision, if you don't do that power of attorney, those decisions are still going to be made. The law has an order of priority for who should make those decisions when you're not able to, if you don't have someone explicitly appointed. The thing is, again, it's out of your hands. Someone's going to make the decision. At least it should be somebody that you chose in advance.
And where should
and we work with caregivers.
I'm sorry, Carol.
No, I was just going to say, we work with caregivers, and that document, that naming of someone, not to say that all families fight, but when there are important decisions to be made about what's going to happen to someone, having named someone can prevent some of that chaos and the fighting over the decision.
Exactly right. If there is no medical power of attorney and 3 adult children show up with 3 different ideas about what's best for mom, who does the doctor listen to in that situation? A medical power of attorney cleans that up. There is one person who is the ultimate decision maker.
And the doctor listens, in the other case, to the one who's the loudest and most forceful.
I can't speak to that, Ron.
But it's a good bet.
I'm sure you're right.
You obviously enjoy what you do. How do you help guide families through these decisions?
Well, it's generally a sit-down meeting to begin with. We sit down with you. We discuss your family situation. We discuss your financial situation, kind of get a big picture. And then we just have these discussions, these important discussions about if you're not able to handle if you're not able to pay your own bills, who should do that for you? If you were unable to speak and a doctor said you needed some medical procedure, who would you want to make that decision for you? And I find most people have somebody, top of mind already. Now, obviously not in every case, but it should be an intuitive process. It should be somebody that, that's exactly the person who should make that decision. And if not, then we need to dig down a little deeper and figure out, what might be best for your unique situation.
Let's talk for a moment about the finances in just a second as we come back to you. I'm Ron Aaron. Carol Zernail, our co-host, is here, and Brennen Boze is our very special guest. He's with Bertsch Boze Elder Law. He's a specialist in estate planning and all that goes with it, probate and long-term care. I'm Ron Aaron. You're listening to the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air.
Well, thank you so much for listening to Caregiver SOS on air. We're delighted to have you with us. We come to you every week with a discussion of an issue, a problem, some accomplishments involved in caregiving with more than 60 million caregivers across this country, but most thinking they are the Lone Rangers. We try to bring you the latest information and help that can make that job easier and more manageable. Caregiver SOS on air takes a look at trends across this country. We provide tips on how to be a better caregiver and, most importantly, where you can go for help. On Caregiver SOS on air, we try to give you what you need to make that caregiving manageable and to provide you with the help that can make your life easier. I'm Ron Aaron. Carol Zernail and I are delighted to co-host this program, and we're thrilled you've joined us on the award-winning Caregiver SOS on Air podcast, available everywhere, brought to you by WellMed Charitable Foundation.
Hello, friend. Hello, friend. Really good to see you once again. Hello, friend. Hello, friend. Really good to see you once again.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us right here on the award-winning Caregiver SOS on air. We're talking with Brennen Boze about estate planning and the various documents that you need. Carol Zernail, our co-host, is with us. And Brennen, there are a lot of parents who simply don't like talking with their kids about money. They don't want them to know what they have. They don't want to know, let them know where the money is and how to access it. How do you get over that hurdle?
It's not always easy. A lot of people have really deeply ingrained feelings about how they manage their finances, and no one else should be able to touch it. Usually where I start is where I started here, is explaining the consequences of not making that decision. Because again, somebody is going to make these decisions if you're not able to. The question is it going to be the person you want to or not? And usually that gets people, their mind kicked into gear that, okay, if and when this should happen to me, I become incapacitated, who in my life do I trust to handle financial decisions for me? It's not always easy, and not everyone has somebody in their life. Often, people for finances look to a document called a living trust instead, and have what's called a corporate fiduciary manage their finances in the event of incapacity. So for a lot of people that don't have close family or trusted people close to them who they believe can handle these types of decisions, they may look to a bank or a trust company to be their trustee in the event that they can't make financial decisions.
Years ago, a friend of mine's husband passed away, and after he died, she discovered he had dozens and dozens of bank accounts, literally all over the country. Big surprise for her, but you have probably seen cases like that.
Definitely. One of the things I always tell my estate planning clients is, when you do these documents, that's the first step. The second step is having a conversation with the person that you've appointed so that they know how you manage your finances. And then the third step is, I always tell people, you don't have to give it to them now, but make a list of where you bank, where your IRAs or investments are held, where your life insurance is kept. Because if somebody comes to me and their parent has had a stroke and is no longer able to communicate, and they've got the power of attorney, well, that's great. That's going to unlock a lot of doors. The question is, what doors do we need to open? And there is not a database that I can plug dad's name into and see, oh, he's got bank accounts at these 5 institutions. So it's important to not just do the document, but to have the conversation. Make sure that the person you've appointed knows how to access your finances, knows where you bank, knows where your investments are held, so that they can handle these things appropriately.
And do you talk about the passwords also for those bank accounts if they're doing online banking? Is that something that you want to have in one place?
I think if it's somebody that's really trusted, then yeah. I think leaving online passwords someplace that only the agent can access them in a safe with the original documents, for example, is a good idea. It makes life easier on everybody. But again, a lot of people, that's a hard sell. They're fiercely independent. They don't want to give up that information. I try to just encourage people, write it down. You don't have to give it to them now, but let them know where to find it in case of emergency.
Well, I do like the idea of maybe not handing over the passwords immediately, but leaving them with the documents, or like with the attorney or with the bank.
Obviously, after someone is incapacitated, it's too late to do these documents. At what age do you recommend we put those papers together?
I mean, I think Carol said it earlier, any of us could walk out the door and get hit by a bus today. I think having at minimum a financial and medical power of attorney is so important for every adult. I don't think that there is an age limit. Now, obviously, the older you are, the worse your health is, the more top of mind these considerations become. But I encourage people to do it tomorrow if possible.
So what about the difference between having an attorney work with you or going online and pulling down the documents? What's the guidance, or what's the difference between doing it yourself with ChatGPT as your attorney versus an attorney?
Well, what I always tell people is that the basic forms for the statutory durable power of attorney, the financial one, and the medical power of attorney are, at least in Texas, online through the Health and Human Services website. Something is better than nothing. print those documents off, fill them out, get them signed and notarized, have something. That said, these are legal documents. They are not the easiest things to read and understand. The financial power of attorney in particular has a bunch of places for you to initial that dictate how much or how little power the person you've appointed is going to have. And so I think working with the attorney is extremely important if you have the means, because it's not just enough to sign these documents. You need to really understand what you're doing, the effect of these documents, and the effect of the choices that you make within the documents.
Well, let me do a follow-up question on that. So, with the documents that you've signed yourself, and the question just went out of my head. I'm sorry. Ron, you look like you had something.
Yeah, and if you look at whatever documents you need, Brennen, you mentioned getting an attorney. Ballpark, what's the cost of putting that together?
It varies. Lots of attorneys work by the hour, and it's just how much time it takes them to get the work done. Our office works on a flat fee basis. So for a full set of powers of attorney, financial, medical, but also several ancillary documents that come along with those, we typically charge a flat rate of $1,000. And that's the initial meeting, the guidance, the documents themselves, and then the final meeting to review the documents, make the selections that the documents require, and get those executed.
Carol?
And so, Brennen, thank you. You did jog my memory. We did use actually your firm, Bertsch Boze, for our documents, our own family. And what I liked about working with an attorney was that you asked questions that we did not think of. And my husband and I did not immediately agree on everything. And so it gave us a chance to have those discussions, talk to our family members, and then come together in agreement, as opposed to if we just, nobody asked us those questions, we wouldn't have given it any thought.
I think you're exactly right. And going back to the Chat GPT example, I mean, AI is an amazing tool. I'm not here to downplay it, but it only answers what you prompt it to answer. And if you don't know what to ask, it's not going to give you full and complete information. And so that's why I think if at all possible, have these documents drawn up by an attorney. If you're worried about long-term care in the future, have them done by an elder law attorney. For example, our financial power of attorney includes a host of additional powers that help us get people qualified for long-term care Medicaid and preserve assets in certain situations. Those powers aren't going to be in the form that you find on the internet. And so it's really an investment in the future, I think.
Well, and there are nonprofit organizations, there are law offices that donate pro bono. So your area agency on aging, if you call eldercare.acl.gov, look online, eldercare.acl.gov, you can connect with your area agency on aging, and they may know where there's a legal clinic if you need access to legal services. But Brennen, you mentioned long-term care. And I know estate recovery and qualifying for Medicaid, and people can make mistakes that's going to really mess that up. And sometimes that investment, you talked about an investment in the future. You don't want to skimp on the important stuff.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Carol. These sorts of things, especially with long-term care planning and looking at Medicaid eligibility, if someone needs nursing home care, don't go it alone. It is a maze of complex rules and regulations, and decisions you make on your own can easily backfire and make things worse for the person who needs that care.
So, Brennen, we've got about a minute left. What are the documents you need to get together before you have that meeting with your estate planner?
I think the main thing is just to get contact information for the trusted people in your life, addresses and phone numbers. I need that kind of information. And then what I always do is send people an intake form. The last page of that is a financial worksheet. Where do you do your everyday banking? Where are your investments and retirement accounts held? So that I can get a full picture of what you have and figure out how we're going to manage that going forward. So there's not really something, you don't need to go pull up the deed to your house. You don't need to bring me bank statements. I don't need that stuff. I just need the general picture. And so I just ask clients to, or at least to get the process started, get that ball rolling, do kind of a financial snapshot for yourself before you come in.
Perfect. We're out of time, but tell us, how can folks get a hold of you?
We serve San Antonio and the surrounding areas. You can go to our website. It's assistingseniors.com. Or if you're in the area, you can call us at 210-892-4555.
I want to thank you very much, Brennen Boze. Thank you to Carol Zernail, our co-host. I'm Ron Aaron. Thanks for joining us on the award-winning Caregiver SOS On Air.
The executive producer for Caregiver SOS On Air is Daniel Calderon. The producer is Sharice Pendleton. And the associate producer is Catherine Oglesby. We'll see you next week on Caregiver SOS On Air.
You've been listening to Caregiver SOS On Air, an exclusive presentation of the WellMed Charitable Foundation. We welcome emails with suggestions and comments on this program at radio@wellmed.net. Join co-hosts Carol Zernail and Ron Aaron next week for more on caregiving, improving the health and well-being of caregivers and their care recipients everywhere. For more on caregiving and podcasts of our programs, visit caregiversos.org.